Coach Steve Smith Show. Jeff Underwood, Jared White. What's up, Owen?
Hey, I take full responsibility for the lateness of the show today.
You should.
I had to make coffee. So, welcome, Coach, the old.
OLE.
So he just ran some misdirection.
OLE.
That's
good. OLE.
OLE.
Gotcha. Good morning. Good morning, Carrie. Good morning. Sims, don't miss your appointment. We're here.
He needs a haircut.
He needs a haircut. It's a Thursday before grass cutting and hair cutting. That's funny. Okay, hey, let's just get right into it. A lot to talk about, a lot to unpack from last week's game. Very competitive ball game. If you're just looking at the scores of the game, people just scanning, you may not think it is what it is, but what a battle of a football game that was.
It was a great game, man. We our kids played hard. We made some mistakes, and Piedmont being a good team like they are, they capitalized on those mistakes, and we just we had to come back and regroup this week and get ready for a really good Munford team. But very proud of our guys. Effort was there, energy was there, everything that you want to carry with you on the road was there. Great crowd support. We had a huge crowd that night. A lot of good things going on. We just, like I said, we made some mistakes, and they capitalized on them. That's what good teams do.
Yeah, it was even football. Second quarter, I think they outscored you 16-7 or something like that. But the mistakes is the key.
And that's part of the game. That's why I try to tell our kids all week long. No excuses for that. I mean, you get in big ball games like that, you can't make those mistakes. And we made them, and like I said, they took advantage of them. And I've had several people tell me, "Oh, coach, if this hadn't happened, I say, but it did. And you can't say if this hadn't happened. If you're always going to go back and say if this hadn't happened, then you go back to previous weeks and say, well, if this hadn't happened to help us out, Ball games have ebbs and flows with them. I mean, there are times that you make some mistakes. When you do, one side's got to pick the other side up and get a stop or create a turnover, whatever it might be. And in this particular case, we made some, and they capitalized on them. And then they didn't really make a lot of mistakes. I think we had an interception on the last play of the first half, kind of a Hail Mary situation. So it wasn't anything that we could really take advantage of. And I said, enjoy playing in games like that. Enjoy being in an atmosphere like that, playoff type atmosphere. It's something that we can use down the road to be able to reflect back on, have an experience of being in a game like that. But being in a game like that, winning a game like that's two different things. You want to win it. You want to win the game, and we just didn't get it done.
Well, you got two of the Brodies had pretty daggum good games. Your quarterback's 15 of 23 and with over 220 yards, and then Johnson 4 receptions, 90-something yards. I mean, there's a lot of bright spots.
Yeah, we made some plays, and like I said, defensively, you look at the game, you say you give up 40 points. Our defense, really, to be honest with you, they scored 3 touchdowns against our defense. They had a punt block for a touchdown, and then they had a defensive fumble recovery in the end zone for a touchdown. And then they had 2 drives that were 30. One was 32 yards and one was 35 yards. So, I thought we played pretty hard on the defensive side. So we gave up a couple of big plays. 81-yard touchdown run there in the second quarter was kind of a backbreaker too. But I thought defensively we played really well. And, it's one of those things that 40 points, somebody says, well, Coach, how you play good defense, give up 40 points? Well, one thing Piedmont did that was kind of unique, you don't see very often in high school. They did not attempt an extra point. They went for 2 each time, and they made all 5 of them. So, they got 10 points on 2-point conversions. Just, that was a little lapse on the defensive side because we prepared all week long for them to go for 2 and felt like we kind of relaxed a little bit on some of those plays and weren't very competitive. That was one disappointment. We didn't compete hard on the 2-point plays, and those are actual points that they're going to either be gained or kept from being scored right there on one play, and thought we could have done a better job there. But overall, I was very proud of the defensive effort. I thought we did a lot of things well. Sometimes
you have to learn how to win in those big games, and you only learn by playing in them.
That's right. And that you hit the nail on the head, and that's what we've been talking about the whole time. I think everybody wants to see the end result be the championships and all that type of stuff. It's a growing process, and I feel like that we've got to a point where we can be competitive with anybody at any time, anywhere in Class 3A, but you got to go out there and you got to be in those games, and you got to compete in those games, and you got to win those games. And when that starts happening, then that's when you have your mindset shifting, and you do that for a couple, 3 or 4 years, then you start talking about having a little tradition. And then when you get to that point, when you got the mindset change, you got the tradition, then you can start talking about a particular culture.
Sure.
I think I always laugh every time I see a new coach come in and say we're going to change the culture. There's a lot of things that got to change before the culture is you got to change mindset first. I feel like we've gotten to that point. Then you got to have some tradition where you do it not just 1 year flash in the pan. You got to do it 2, 3, 4 years in a row. Then when you start having some type of football tradition, then you start talking about a culture. And I think we're going to get there. I'm very, very pleased with the progress where we're at. We got good teams in our lower levels, JV, junior high, youth league, working hard, and a lot of those guys hopefully will one day experience the culture.
We were talking about culture yesterday on a non-sports related show, and it came up that a culture is not created until it's tested.
I think that's a great way of saying it.
And
That's really what I'm saying right there.
Yeah,
you know, it's
for sure.
And testing is over the long haul. It's not just over one game here or there. And I think a lot of times people misconstrue the word culture as thinking that when you're trying to change the culture, you're changing something that was bad. That's not what I'm saying at all.
I agree with that.
There is a great climate at Westbrook. There is a great climate there was a great climate in the field house before I ever got there. Culture, what we're talking about is the sustained winning over a long period of time to where it's what you just expect. Mm-hmm. And every team's going to come out and say they expect to win. You got to do all the things to prepare to expect to win. And I feel like we're making tremendous strides in those areas. So when you say you're going to change mindset, change tradition, change culture, it's not in a negative connotation at all. It's just trying to get everybody on the same page and everybody working and pulling in the same direction to be able to do something, and not just it be 1 year and then you go back to being 3-7 or whatever. You want to be able to do it and put a winning team and a competitive team on the field year after year after year after year, so that as those kids are coming up through elementary school in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, that's all they ever see.
Yeah.
And when that happens, then they start thinking, well, that's just the way it's supposed to be.
Sure.
And they work toward, upholding that tradition and that culture. So
it reminds me of Wyman Townsend when he was trying to raise the Etowah. When he first got there, Etowah was pretty low, and he kept talking about, he used the word standard more than culture, but I think it's the same meaning. And he was talking about, we have to learn to win that rep that we're doing. We have to learn to give it all in this workout and in the classroom and winning these things before we worry about even winning a ball game.
Right, 100% agree.
Yeah.
And we say this a lot in our locker room: how you do anything's how you do everything. And so I want kids that want to be competitive. If we're timing 40s, I want them to be competitive. If we're simply maxing out in the weight room, I want them to be competitive. If they're playing checkers on the side, you develop a mentality of that, and when you have that competitive nature, like I said, not to be combative, but just be competitive.
Sure.
Anything that you do, if there's a score or a record or whatever that's kept with it, then it ought to be worth giving your best effort for. If it's not going to have something measurable at the end of it, I don't really know that it's really that meaningful. It's hard for me to go out on a Friday night and just play the game. And then just come in, yeah, that was pretty cool.
Had a good time.
You go out there and you coach it, you play it to win the game. And you don't always get what you want.
Sure. But
you can't keep battling and letting that be what you're shooting for. And again, at the end of the year, we'll reflect back. You'll have a year in the show, and everybody's final record will be discussed, and how far anybody went in the playoffs, and whether or not they got a blue map or a red map or whatever. And to a lot of folks that are not in the daily part of the process, it's all just about the result.
Yeah.
And if you can see what I get to see and what our coaches get to see on a daily, where these guys have been and where they're at now and where they're going to, it's very, very rewarding to see those types of things. And you play somebody 3 years like a Piedmont or like a Hokes Buck that we played, and then played them in Jamboree, and you start charting where you was at, how I hate to use how competitive you were, but that is kind of a measuring stick.
Sure.
You can see the gap being narrowed a little bit there, and all, but this, at the end of the day, the final results is what people want to know, and final results is whether we went over there and played hard, whether we went over there and played good, whether we went over there and did a lot of things right. We come home with a loss. And that's not what
Jeff. The visual I describe is the Westbrook coaching staff getting ready to run a 40-yard dash. They're going to race each other, and him dust cagging Sean.
Absolutely.
Just to be sure you beat him.
Well,
Reverse dust cag.
I'd have to cheat. I'd have to cheat some way.
You talk about success. You were saying success. It feels good, but it's all about those boys, those men, those young men.
Agree.
But something pretty special happened, I hear, Friday night with you before the game, where you were honored in a pregame ceremony. Being a long-time Piedmont coach, how special was that?
Oh, it was special. I mean, it was really good. They had a 10-year reunion of the 2015 state championship team, and first of all, I'm very thankful that Piedmont chose to do that on the night that we played. I mean, if they'd done any other home game, obviously I couldn't have been there, but I thought that was a classy move on their part to do it on that particular night and get to be a part of it, walk on the field. The guys that were in town had a little bit of a get-together on Thursday night at a local restaurant there, and I had went over and watched our volleyball team have a big win against Ohatchee. And after the volleyball game, they said, Bailey Blanchard kind of put it together. And he said, hey, we're still up here at Shell's eating if you want to come up. So I got over there and saw about 20 of them the night before and got to spend about an hour with them. Some of those guys, I really hadn't seen them since they graduated. They went off to college and live out of town now or whatever, and then got to see probably, I guess there's about 25 of them. And then a lot of the former coaches that are still on staff there that were able to come. Bailey and Glencoe was off, so he got to make sure he was there. It was really neat to get to see those guys and reminisce a little bit. But the ceremony part was right before the game, so it's kind of like they read the little thing and recognized people on the field and all. And then I was kind of like hitting it on a jog back to the locker room. Took me about 2 minutes to get back to the locker room on a jog, and then another couple of minutes to catch my breath. And then it seemed like we had our prayer and went on the field and played the game. But very, very grateful to have the opportunity to be back there with those guys and sharing that 10-year anniversary moment. And,
That's cool.
And I tell you, what we say as old people about how time flies, it certainly hadn't seemed like it was 10 years ago, but I was honored to get to be a part of that ceremony, so it was pretty cool.
That's good.
I think it's good that the only week that they don't root for you is the week y'all play. You got a lot of fans out there.
Well, we made a lot of great friends there, and still, like I said, we still live in that community. Rachel's still working there for the school system. Our kids are going to school at Jack State or working jobs, and kind of a central location that we base out of. And I drive about 35 miles each day to Rainbow City, and just a great town, a lot of great people there, and a lot of great memories.
Is that bookstore, the Christian bookstore, still there?
I don't think it's there anymore, is
No.
it?
I remember going there for it was such a good store. It's been a long time though. I don't know why that just popped in my mind. Got a lot of people commenting.
My favorite place was go and sit, drink coffee at Auto Supply.
Auto Supply,
Just sit there and, man, that was my spot.
Coach Jones, anything worth doing is worth overdoing. Moderation is for cowards.
I appreciate that.
Wait till our next segment when we talk about coffee.
That's coming quickly.
No moderation.
So Mumford
Yes, sir.
coming up.
Yes, sir.
They're not having the best of seasons yet, as of yet. 0-4.
Just look at, but you gotta look. You gotta look at their opponents and
That's
say
right.
by that rivalry game week 1 with Lincoln. And that game can always go either way. I think Mumford got the best of Lincoln last year, if I remember right. And then I think their 3 games in the region they played is Tallahassee, Hanley, and Bullitt County. The big thing statewide about Bullitt County being undefeated for the first time and since '72. Everybody knows how good Hanley is year in, year out, and Tallahassee, how good they are. So I'm not sure that any of their opponents have lost unless they've lost to each other, because Lincoln, that was, like I said, a rivalry game. But it's very deceiving when you look at Mumford's record, because their schedule has definitely been front-end loaded with high-quality opponents. We saw Mumford last year at their place, and they've got some tremendous athletes. They got a couple of tailbacks, number 22 in particular, Javier. I can't think of his last name, but
Curry.
he's really, really good. He's a dangerous player. The quarterback from last year, they moved him to wide receiver. He's about 6'2", 185, 190, and he can go get the ball. He can be a nightmare for folks, and they've got some good guys on the line of scrimmage, both offensive and defensive. They just they've run up with some buzzsaws, and I told our kids, I said, they're catching us coming off of a loss. They're catching us during the week of homecoming, which is always the coach's favorite week of the year. And then, and they're going to have a lot more speed than we got. I told them they may have popped in our tape and just got to licking their chops on thinking that they're going to, have the opportunity for a bunch of big plays. And if we don't play well, we're going to be in trouble against them. That's what I tell everybody. I said, there's not a cupcake on our schedule, and Mumford by no means is a cupcake. They are very, very talented, very well coached. I've been friends with Coach Easy for a long time. He's got a great staff over there with him. They do things the right way, and they're one of them teams. They need something good to happen for them right now, because they are a little bit 0-4. A lot of people kind of down on them. But when you put the tape in and you watch those guys and you see the athleticism there, they're very, very dangerous.
I think whoever made that schedule should get detention. They didn't do him any favors, Coach.
No.
The back-to-back games.
Yeah,
It's brutal.
tough stretch for them for sure.
Heck yeah. Talk about how to take Westbrook out of your region, right?
Yes,
I want you to just focus if you can, and let's talk about how tough a 9-team region is. What we're looking at from another way, because we're dealing with another 9-team region that's Blunt's coming to play Coosa tomorrow.
Yeah.
Also a 9-team region.
Yeah.
This almost just don't even seem fair.
Well, I don't really have a problem with it, other than the fact of finding the non-region games. That's the toughest part,
exactly right.
And week 5 is not that bad because everybody in the state's off week 5, so you can find somebody week 5.
Yeah.
My problem is it almost forces folks to have to play a counting game week 0 if you have a crazy second week.
Yeah.
And our crazy second week is week 7 coming up in a couple. We're going to try in Georgia, and we just fortunately found a game with somebody that was close to our size. You know, last year we had the team from Tennessee that came to us, Innovation Academy.
Good for them too, for doing that game.
But it was a good thing for us. But you know, had we not been able to find somebody week 7, then we would have probably had to take that Jamboree week and play somebody in a regular game, and that would have cost us the opportunity to play Hoax Bluff because he had a 10-game schedule, and so it needed to be a Jamboree because you can't play 11. And I prefer playing a Jamboree in 10 straight. I hate a bye week during the season. I'm probably in the minority on that, but you know, I like to get on a routine and get going, and our kids get on a routine and get going. And I know people say, well, bye week can help you with injuries. It can help you be able to regroup or whatever, you know. But I also think it can derail your momentum if you've kind of got into a good routine. And, you know, it just, I would prefer being in an 8-team region, obviously. But being in a 9-team, you take the cards you dealt and you make the best hand out of it.
Why don't you know, I know you know somebody on the executive committee with the association. I know you got some contacts. I think maybe if you're in a 9-team region, it should be the rule that no one else can do their schedule. You get your games booked. You know, let's give some kind of advantage for being on the 9-team.
Well, and the 7, there's some 7-team regions, but they're not at as much of a disadvantage because in a 7-team you're off 1, 5, and 10 like everybody in an 8-team.
Yeah.
And then you got an extra week off. You know, so 7-team's not near as bad as 9-team because you still got 1, 5, and 10. And when I say that, for people that don't understand, typical 8-team regions, which is what the state really strives for.
Yeah.
Everybody's off week 1, week 5, and week 10. Then you got week 0. So tons of people, opportunities to play people 1, 5, and 10. 7 teams are going to be off 1, 5, and 10. Then they're going to have another week somewhere in there extra. We're in a 9-team, so we're not off 1 or 10. We got Glencoe 1, Wellborn 10. And so we only had week 5, which is when a 9-team region, the whole state says everybody's in a 9-team region is off week 5. So therefore, you got your Glencoe Hoax Bluff rivalry game that they can still play, which I think is tremendous.
Absolutely.
For us, we don't really have a rivalry game to play week 5, and so it just happened that Mumford was looking for a week 5 game, and that worked out for us.
Sorry.
I'm catching up these comments.
Yeah, so many comments. It's great. What do you think up and coming rivalry with you guys? Every school kind of. I think some teams may call you their rival, and maybe you guys don't look at them as a rival kind of deal.
Well, we've talked about Glencoe being kind of a rivalry for us here within the county. You know, I'd love to be able to play the Glencoes and Hoax Bluffs, maybe Sardis. Sardis is a little bit bigger than us, but we play in baseball, we play in basketball, we play in junior high and JV football.
That makes sense.
Easy trip.
Yeah.
I've talked to Coach Peavy at Etowah about possibly playing, but again, they've got games that they got to play that's been their rivalry games, you know, and so just.
This week's outside.
Yeah, so you know, it's one of those situations to where, what works for one may not work for the other, and so you just kind of have to be flexible. Sometimes if you're both in 8-team regions, then you can have some flexibility. Well, I can't play week 5, and the other one says, well, I can't play week 10, so okay, we'll play week 1. You know, that kind of thing. I know when I was at Piedmont, Piedmont Center has been a traditional rival for many, many years, and we were always able to work around and make sure we kept that game week 1. There was one time I was in a 9-team region there, and we had to move that game to week 10 because back then the state said week 10 was your blanket off week. I think they actually have moved that game up now. Coach Miller and Coach Kelly, I think they started playing week 0. But again, those are guys that don't mind having an off week, during the year. That's just personal preference for me. I wanted to always have a game week 1 and week 5 and week 10. But you know, and our school has grown. You know, Westbrook was a 1A school for a long time, or 2A for a while. We're 2A number wise right now, but we're going to be 3A for the foreseeable future because of the 1.35. So
I remember Glencoe and Westbrook being big games back in the day.
well, and you try to also find somebody that might be in a different class than you are, because
Sure.
if you kind of hook up with somebody, well, just use us in Glencoe. By then, I've already taught. You know, if we're in the same region, you're in the same region.
Sure.
Right.
If we're not in the same region, then he would like to keep playing. I'd like to keep playing. You know, Glencoe Westbrook would be a good game to play. But you know, with enrollments rising, falling, I don't know what the situation is at every school. There's a lot of folks there's a lot of 3A schools that I'm familiar with from over in Calhoun County in particular that are telling me they think they're going to be 2A the next time. I mean, about 4 schools have told me that their numbers are down to the point where they think they're going to be 2A. And I'm like, well, everybody can't be 2A, you know. But
That's true.
But and so we're kind of in limbo, you know, when you start grouping these 3A regions together.
Yeah.
This year our region is the Calhoun County region. You know, we get sent to the mountain region like we were, you know, 2 years ago. We were in a region that had a few Calhoun counties, but also had Geraldine, Sylvania, those schools from up on the mountain. You know?
You're very familiar with.
So we played those guys, and then this year we got JB Pennington and Locust Fork from over in Blount County. Right here, you know, in the county, Glencoe's 3A. Oaks Bluff from time to time teeters between 3 and 4A. You know, they were in the region 2 years ago. So you just when you got those schools, some that can go 2A, 3A, like I say a 5.
Sure.
You got some that could be 3A, 4A, like a Oaks Bluff. You know, all those people would be really good people, you know, to try to have games with. But if you're in the same classification, you really don't want to play somebody, even if it's a non-region. It don't really make sense to play them because you may turn around and play them in the playoffs.
So when you were at Cedar Bluff,
Right.
who was the rival?
Sandrock was the big rival, and Galesville was a big rival. Cedar Bluff and Galesville back then were both 1A.
You can hit a 3-wood to Galesville from there.
Yeah, Sandrock was a 2A school, so it was always a game that wasn't going to be a counter.
Yeah.
I think they're actually in the same region now because I think Cedar Bluff
That's
is
right.
2A.
That's right.
But Cedar Bluff and Sandrock was always it was a second week of the season Thursday night game. And it was really the only game around. You know, a lot of people would play Thursday night games week 1, but Cedar Bluff and Sandrock would always play Thursday night of week 2.
That's kind of what Hopes Bluff Southside's turned into.
Hopes Bluff Southside is week 1.
But it's Thursday night.
It's always been Thursday night, as long as I can remember. And so, you know,
it's like Alabama, Tennessee. It's the third Saturday in October.
Well, in Cedar Bluff and Sandrock, you would draw the crowd from Center. You'd draw the crowd from some teams in your area, Sandrock's area. You would have a huge. I remember those Cedar Bluff Sandrock gates. I'm talking about when it was $5 a person to get in, and be, you know, having a $7,500 to $10,000 gate that would almost finance the season, you know, because
Fire marshals went out of town on that game.
There you go.
They didn't want to shut it down. Rivalries are just important. It's a part of the pageantry of high school football, college football.
Right.
Who was your favorite rivalry?
Oh, guys in high school.
Guys in high school.
Guys back to that. That was a must-watch TV.
Obviously, you love playing at Jim Glover, but when
Murphy
you
was
when you went to Murphy Stadium.
Murphy Stadium was fun. I
was.
went to many Gadsden Etowah games.
Yeah.
I would watch Gadsden Etowah. You know, if I was not playing or coaching, I would try to make it. I can remember, you know, going to a lot of the Oxford Welborn, Oxford Anniston, Welborn games back in the day. And when I tell people they used to have 7,500 to 10,000 people at those games.
That's true.
You may be conservative.
And Welborn was the biggest school
Sure.
at one point in time, you know, and Oxford of those 3 was the smaller of the 3. Now Oxford's the 6A school and Welborn's a 3A and Anniston's a 4A, but I can remember going to some of those games and being literally standing. I've been to a game before, a Welborn Anniston game on the hill at Welborn, where literally the hill back behind the visitor side bleachers, people were standing on that hill all the way out in the road.
That's great.
In front of those houses watching that game because there was nowhere else to see it.
Yeah, I used to travel when I wasn't calling the game, which is the last 25 years, but there are some games you just have to go to around high school football.
Right.
Clay County.
Clay County Lineville.
That was it, man. That was one of my bucket list games. I saw 2, I think. I wanted one at each. That was big time football, man. It was serious football.
And it's a lot of fun. You get to see how those communities, you know, a lot of times you don't get out of your little bubble of your game. But I really enjoy going to a high school game. And in particular, I enjoy going to one. Most of the time, if I go to one now, it's because we're playing somebody down the road or whatever. You're going because you're kind of scouting. But it was a lot of fun to go to some of those games. you know, when you see how some of those other communities tailgate or whatever they might do as a traditional type thing, Lineville had one of the neatest things. The last Lineville game I went and watched Sandrock and Lineville play in the 2A playoffs. I want to say it was 96 or 97, somewhere in that range. And Lineville, the people, most of the visitors where they parked, you had to walk through a graveyard to get to the stadium.
I forgot about
and
that.
And they would have somebody out dressed up as the Grim Reaper out there. I mean, it was really cool. It was like going through a haunted house or something just to get to the stadium, you know. But it was pretty cool. It was just that was a Lineville thing there out there with the pitchfork and you know.
Who do you think's the biggest rivalry, small town rivalry in high school football in Alabama? I know everybody's going to say. Everybody's going to say
small town. 4A below.
Yeah, 4A and below. I mean, just good.
Well, I'm biased a little bit
okay.
from my history, but Center Piedmont's a great rivalry right there. Battle of Highway 9. You know, everybody likes to have a catchphrase.
Sure. Jerry.
You know, I really think that when back in the day, when they were both up, Cortland, Hazelwood, you know, and then they combined to be R.A. Hubbard, and now that school has shut down. But that's how the Town Creek and Cortland have kind of dried up a little bit as far as the schools go. But I went to one of those Cortland Hazelwood games, and it was a 1A state champion versus a 2A state champion, and I think there was 7 SEC signees on the field at one time.
That was a pipeline to Alabama.
All the Goods and Langham, and then Cortland had a team. You know, they had players, Kelvis White and them that went to Alabama as well from Cortland. Their dad was the coach, and now Kelvis is coaching, and so's LaRon. But those were the Clay County. I went to one Clay County Lineville game, and that was always Etowah Gadsden, as you said, back in Murphy Stadium back in the day was something fun to watch. Other small school type rivalries, Cedar Bluff Sandrock was a big deal for a long, long time. You know, but that was something that was fun to watch. Glencoe Hoax Bluff over the years has been a big rival game.
And we talked about in our earlier show, the high school show we did this week, is Glencoe leads that rivalry. A lot of people may not remember.
I didn't realize that.
The old Ed Lett, Doc Lett days back
right.
in the time. Yeah, Glencoe leads that rivalry. I wouldn't have guessed it, but
I guessed the other way. I guessed Hoax Bluff. So
somebody just put how about Gordo Pickens, the 8 Mile War?
Well,
I know Gordo's your favorite high school team, right?
I saw yesterday was canceled for this week, so that kind of got out of hand a little bit.
Yeah, that was a little much, huh?
Yeah,
a little much.
It's
Just something about small. I say small town football. It's that's the backbone of high school football. The community. I call it. It's the community.
Yeah. Well,
games.
The Etowah Gadsden High game. It was like when Alabama would play at Legion Field. You would people would park you in their driveways or their yards, and that's what happened over at Murphy Stadium. You're parking in people's yard. You had that feeling of going. When I was a kid.
I'm saying
a feeling of going to a college game.
It was my best remembrance was the old Charity Bowl. Where it was all those local schools played. That was cool.
That was a cool.
Yeah, it was a good environment.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Brett Tyler Smith says, "I have upgraded birth certificate if you need me, coach."
We take all the help we can get, right? But
he's a locker room guy, coach.
Well, I'll say this, that when you see. I think it's been great for high school football to see the ESPN2 or whatever pick up and carry the Thompson versus Grayson games, and its production. It's like a small college, and I'm sure those environments,
Sure.
But I don't know that I would trade being in that environment for getting to be in that small town environment where everybody's wearing a jersey on Friday at the school, and all the kids are dressed up, and there's a theme for the game, and your student section's making lots of noise, your band's playing. I don't think I would trade all of those fun memories and fun things that is community based for the glitz and the glamour of the ESPN cameras and instant replay and TV timeouts and all. I mean, it's cool that high school games get that type coverage, but I think
businesses closing early.
Well, I just think when you look at these small towns, and then you look at these small towns, and let's say a team makes a playoff run. And you drive through one of those small towns, the drugstore in town, the filling stations, everything, everywhere, the restaurants, they're all got school colors painted up in their windows. And, and for these kids now, it's easy to be a front runner for Thompson High School because of the facilities they have and the college players they produce.
That's right.
Not many of us remember the lull between Thompson being good back in the early 80s and how they stunk up until Mark Freeman got
I
there.
remember Southside beating them.
Well, I mean, they were almost just a dormant program. The city
Yeah.
of Alabaster decided they was going to kind of build that city back through the school system, and they built college facilities.
Thanks, Nick Saban, for the influx of money.
Well, but you see how all that stuff kind of transpired.
What do
But
you think?
there's nothing like going through Fife, Alabama semifinal week and seeing all those buildings painted red and black,
that's
and
cool.
and all.
And you guys comment on this too, and we appreciate all the comments. Name a small town, and sometimes a small town in Alabama, you automatically think high school football.
Brantley. What do you know about Brantley other than
Yeah,
they used to be really good? Maplesville.
Yeah, I'm saying that's
I mean,
what it is.
Maplesville, hi, Maplesville. When you think of Maplesville, first thing that comes to mind when you think of Maplesville is great 1A football,
to.
right? So I mean, I think you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Synonymous with high school football and just that community feel.
It's pretty cool.
Don't you feel like that's kind of happening in Rainbow City with Westbrook right now?
I really get a good feeling about that.
Sure.
I do. I really feel good about where we're at. I'm thankful for the support that we have. We got a lot of people on fire right now wanting to support the school, and Mayor Taylor does a great job of supporting us at Westbrook Christian there in Rainbow City, and just there's a lot of positive energy going on each and every day. A lot of people wanting to throw their hat in there and help with whatever they can help with, and we're trying to coach football the old-fashioned way, hard-nosed, tough, aggressive football, and just seeing all these people stepping up, saying, "Hey, what can I do to help out, man?" I really appreciate
But
it.
it's true. When you think Fife, you think UFOs.
So football and
Football,
UFOs.
UFOs back in the 80s and football from about 2000 on.
Ever since.
Right.
I think Blue Light Baptist should just donate all that property to
I
you
think
guys.
so.
How cool would it be for you guys to be seen and more visible right there on the main street?
Well,
All you got to do is talk to Trent.
I'm putting that out
He'll
there.
He'll take it.
Trent Thrasher will build it for you.
Build, yeah.
We know a guy. A lot of comment. Hey, let's talk, Coach, because I always like talking this with you every week. Some of the top 10 games in the state.
yes, sir.
And being a mixed week, let's talk a little bit about 7A football. How about Thompson at Clay? Talk about big time.
Well, Clay got the best of Thompson. Was it last year?
Last year,
6A beat 7A there, and I will tell you, just player for player, if you line them up and you test them, I mean, Thompson has the tradition as being the 7A powerhouse in this state, but Clay Chalkville can match them athlete for athlete. Where's that game played at?
It's at Clay.
I'm going to give Clay the nod again at Clay. They'll get up for that game, and their opportunity to prove themselves against the premier program in the state. I think Clay can do it again.
This is an interesting matchup. Moody at Auburn.
Interesting matchup in the sense that Moody, I think what Coach Gaines has done there, he's obviously
Tremendous.
created
They're ranked number 2.
created a ton
Yeah.
of buzz there, and he's playing. Hats off to him for playing
Yep.
one of the toughest schedules in the state because he chose to play Gainesville, Georgia. He chose to play Oxford. He's choosing to play Auburn.
Yeah.
I do think Auburn's going to have a little bit more than Moody can handle, but I've been wrong
Hats off.
before him, but I really think that what he's done with his schedule is he's made his team more seasoned for a deep playoff run, and ultimately at the end of the year, if they have 3 losses beside their name, they're holding up a 5A state championship trophy. That's what his goal is, and he's done a great job of building that.
Speaking of game you got wrong earlier in the season, let's talk about IMG and Central Phoenix City.
Yep.
Oh,
They
got the best of Hoover.
I took Hoover against IMG, and IMG they're kind of a little bit polarizing to me because you don't really know what you're playing there, or
They're 2-2.
Well, but here's the thing: I've been told they have multiple teams. I've been told that they have IMG, but they have other IMG teams too that I don't call them. I won't call them JV or whatever.
They do in different sports.
But they came up in basketball and played somebody here in Alabama
Right.
at one point in time and
Yeah.
got toasted. And I'm thinking, well, that must not have been the one that has all the 5 stars. But again, I'm anti-academy when it comes to recruiting players from all over the country. So I'm gonna pick Central Phoenix City and pull for Central Phoenix City.
I want to know about the host Buff Glencoe game. You getting to that one?
I'll get there.
That's the one I want his take on.
I'll get there. We're
So
just
much.
talking kind of the top 10 games. Right here. Let's see if Coach wants to talk local.
That's his top 10
local
game.
schools.
Besides the one he's
How about Pike Road at Opelika?
Again, Pike Road, they've got some guys that have went on to successful college and now NFL careers. Only been in existence for 12 to 15 years.
Right at, yeah.
And I think they've done a tremendous job. Coach Shook is the coach at Pike Road now. He's a longtime friend of mine. He was at Trinity for a long time. He's an outstanding football coach. Opelika is a very underrated 7A team. You know, it's one of the smaller 7As out there. They were a 6A power, one of the smaller 7As, but you know, Brian Moore, the coach that used to be at Hartselle, is down there at Opelika, and he's done a tremendous job there. I think size of school and depth will be the difference in that. I think Pike Road has athletes to play with Opelika the first 22, but I do think the 7A depth that Opelika will be the difference in that game.
I saw Pike play in a summer basketball tournament. Athletes everywhere, by the way. Everywhere.
Yeah. They had a guy in the Champions Challenge. I watched that first week 0 Champions Challenge. I can't remember who they were playing.
Yeah.
But they had a guy that basically took over the game on both sides. It's been Prattville.
Yeah.
And they beat Prattville, but they had a guy that just basically took over the game and just was the best player on the field. Nobody could stop him. So I know Pike Road's going to have plenty of talented players. I think Opelika and that depth will be the difference in the game.
This is the biggest game in 5A football. Two ranked teams, number 6 versus number 8, Scottsboro at Central Clay.
Yeah, you know, I'm a Tyler Van fan. He's
Sure.
my buddy.
Yeah.
I think Tyler Van's one of the best young coaches in the state of Alabama. So you got one of the best young coaches in the state of Alabama versus the all-time winningest coach in the state of Alabama.
Ain't
Danny
nothing
Horn.
yet seen, Coach.
And you know, Danny Horn. I'll say this: I was surprised to see Clay get handled the way that they did early in the year by Benjamin Russell.
Yeah,
And I think Ben Russell's a lot better than most of us probably thought in the first year of the Kirk Johnson era.
Yeah.
That was as bad as I've seen a Central Clay team get beat in history that I can remember. That just wasn't something that is indicative of a Danny Horn coach team. I do think that Tyler and them will do a great job on the offensive side of the ball as far as being able to come up with some creative ways to try to move the ball. Like I said, he's a great offensive coach. Where's that game played at?
Central.
I'm going to go with the home team. I hate picking against my buddy, but at the same time,
That's still one of those places that's a home field advantage.
it's a home field advantage. And like I said, Coach Horn's a legend in this state. He's very well respected throughout the coaching ranks. I think the world of him as well. I just feel like the veteran coach playing at home backed against the wall a little bit because they hadn't got off to a typical Central start.
Yeah.
I look for them to be able to go out and pull out a victory.
Give me Scottsboro.
Good Hope, Addison. At Addison.
You know, Addison's one of those places. I actually played a couple of times when I was at Piedmont, and then played them once when I was at Cedar Bluff when they were 1A. Hard to beat Addison at Addison.
Yeah.
First-hand
knowledge.
They are extremely good, and they're always going to be solid, well coached. Tons of tradition there. Most of those guys, I would say, on that Addison roster, their dads played there, their granddaddies played there, all their uncles played there. Somehow or another, they're all kind of tied back to Coach Smothers. They either played for Coach Smothers or Coach Randy White. Those are the two people that I know from the time there. And then a younger Coach Smothers coached them most recently. But you're talking about a community that's just through and through,
one of those,
built with their second, third, fourth generation players. Don't know a whole lot about Good Hope, but
big offense. That's what they're known for.
I would say it's hard to go against Addison at home.
What are they, the Bulldogs? Addison?
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going to skip 3A.
Come on,
Well,
man.
Montgomery Academy and Luverne. I mean, it's going to be
That's going to be interesting because Montgomery Academy, you know, they look like
He is an idiot savant of high
Well,
school.
Oh, there's no
football.
question.
I mean,
He lives and breathes it more than me.
Academy, it looks like to me they've reloaded. I don't know how they've reloaded. That's somebody else's decision to make. They've reloaded and they are waxing folks.
They are.
And at the same time, I think Luverne's averaging like 67
They
points
are.
a game.
Number 2 in the state.
Luverne's one of the 2A power programs in the state.
Yep.
And they're, like I said, they're scoring 60-something points a game. There could be a Luverne matchup with a local team here eventually, but you know, I'm anxious to see how that one turns out.
I know who you're pulling for.
Academy has played Academy in 21. Then they had to play 3A or 4A ball in 22 and 23, and then they're back to 3A after not having any success in 4A. And they've changed coaches a couple times, but now all of a sudden,
They got some talent.
now all of a
I don't know
sudden
where it came from.
they're wearing. Now they were good last year in basketball. You know, they won the 3A
Yep,
championship in basketball last year. I think that's who Glencoe ran into in the Final Four. But all of a sudden they're back to a dominant football team again. So be interesting to see how they stack up against an offense that's averaging right near 70 points a game.
Let's move into 1A football, Coach.
Yes, sir. First love.
You love it. No, absolutely right. I know that. Let's hold on. Let me go back just for one. I wasn't going to mention this one, but I think it deserves your take. Lynette at Hanley.
Big rivalry game.
Big
The
rivalry.
small guys, Lynette used to always get up for Hanley, and I'm sure they still will. Coach Story used to be at Lynette. They actually got Hanley a couple times. When Lynette was on their run, I can remember one year when Hanley, I think they won the state championship, and I think they beat Lynette like 8-6. It was just a defensive struggle. You talking about one where the little guys get up for the bigger
Yes.
city school?
Yeah.
That's one. I got to see Hanley on film last week versus Mumford.
Mm-hmm.
And if Lynette can do anything with Hanley, Lynette is really, really good because Hanley is loaded. I watched them, just the technique that they play with. Hanley's got some animals. So I'm going to have to take Hanley in that game. I think it might be a little more at this point in time than Lynette can chew. But I'm sure Lynette will get after them, though, just because of the rivalry.
Leroy, Washington County.
It's hard to go against Leroy. I mean,
Trust
just
me. We know.
traditionally, it's hard to go against Leroy, and the story there with Coach Massey and serving our country and taking
Awesome.
that break and Chandler taking over and filling in and leading them to the championship. Always a good story. I found out through my guy, that's my football ops guy, Coach Derrier. Shout out to Coach Derrier because he digs up information.
He's a
on
good
anybody.
dude. He's a good
But
dude.
Jason Massey, that coach at Leroy, his dad actually coached at Westminster Christian when Jason was a little boy.
I didn't know
Like
that.
in '76.
Wow.
So his daddy actually was a coach at Westminster before our school changed to Westbrook, and so had a little connection there. But just ultimate respect for anybody that takes a leave like that
Amen.
and serves our country overseas, and then
100%.
for the guy that stepped in there and led them on to the championship that year. So, not knowing a whole lot about Washington County, I'm taking Leroy.
The only part of the person I know that would possibly even know that would be Michael Short. Coach Short knows. He's like you. He knows a lot of stuff.
He gets a lot of his stuff from John Holder.
He does. Yeah,
You get Coach Short and John Holder together, and they spend many hours together.
Yeah.
They can probably tell you the history of just about any school in the state.
Last one, little 1A football here. Wadley.
Wadley, I'm taking Wadley.
I
Who they playing?
don't know anything about this school. They're playing Glenwood School.
That's
I don't know anything
Glenwood's a
about
3A. Glenwood's one of those new schools that come out. I think they're in the region maybe with Randolph County.
Okay.
So
They're 4-1. That's all I know.
I think Glenwood came in, and then the Lee Scott Academy. I think they're all in that region, maybe with Wadley, with Randolph County.
Tough
They're
against Wadley.
they're one of the top 10 3A schools in the state, but I'm taking Wadley. Have you seen that animal that Wadley's got that looks kind of like Derrick Henry?
He is a
He's about
dude.
6'3", 240, but he gets a lot of the hype because that stands out in 1A football.
Sure.
Obviously, he's committed to Auburn. I think is maybe an outside back
Outside
or edge
backer,
rusher
yeah.
or something like that.
Yep.
But don't sell the rest of that Wadley roster short. I mean, they've got some animals.
No pun intended. They got some dogs, Coach.
They do, and I think they're bulldogs.
They are.
So,
Thanks for picking
but
that up.
Wadley has a really talented roster, and again, not knowing a whole lot about Glenwood, I'm gonna take Wadley.
That's all the games I got for you. Now let's wrap up yours. What special activities come up for homecoming? Kind of break down the Westbrook homecoming for us.
Well, I mean, tomorrow will be a big day. Our kids in our community, they do a lot with the floats and stuff, and I've tried to tell the football players I don't mean to be a stick in the mud, but the only part about homecoming that really matters to me is the game.
Don't get hurt.
I'm good with everybody, having a good time, doing all the stuff that kids do. I don't want them to be old people before they have to be, but the game is what I'm most concerned with. I'm not concerned with a whole lot of the other stuff, but they'll have floats set up in front of the school tomorrow, and this big competition on the floats. And when I'm talking about, we used to call them yard displays. When I was in, these are not yard displays, they're floats. I mean, you take these.
The Rose Parade.
If they keep them together, they can use them in Macy's and Thanksgiving. I mean, they really, really go all out on the floats, and it's something I've always enjoyed getting them just walk around and look at them and see how they're moving parts and all.
They're creative.
Very creative. So that'll be a big thing that's been going on all week, and will be done tomorrow. And then we'll have a homecoming parade where we march around Westminster Drive. I think it starts at 1:30 maybe. We'll have a lot of people out for that. A lot of fun. Kids get to walk, and the homecoming representatives and the maids are all, on the cars, and the teams walk, and the other sports teams walk, youth league team, cheerleaders. You know, a lot of that type of stuff for the parade. It's good social environment for everybody just to come together. And then the game tomorrow night, I think Miss Neal, we're going to do the homecoming court before the game. That's something that's a little bit of a change. It's usually been a halftime thing, but it's just so rushed at halftime. You got officials, hurry up, get back on the field. And now we have a marching band. Mumford has a marching band, so we're just going to try to cut the warm-ups a little bit short. Let everybody know that 6:30 they'll do the homecoming court recognition on the field pregame. And that way both the bands can play at halftime and everything not be, so crammed. But just looking forward to a big night, hoping the rain holds off and we're able to get all the festivities in and everybody have a good time.
Does your face ever end up on the floats?
Yeah, that's always, it's almost like, where's Waldo? I walked down last year. I was trying to find, somewhere there was a Coach Smith face. Walked in the building last year, there's photocopies of my face all over the place. I can't remember what it said, that's charging or whatever, but
that's so funny.
Anyhow, but yeah, it's always a lot of fun.
Can we get the mayor, Joe Taylor, to ride in the very last float like Santa Claus in the Macy's? That'd be perfect.
If he could be Santa and throw out candy.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That'd be cool.
Dude, great there. Anything in closing? Obviously, this is a game to get refocused. This is a ball game to get back on track and to fix some things. And Jeff and I were talking earlier in the week. I think this is a game you guys get right. Well,
it's one of those things. It's like I told the coaches, it wasn't a time to come in and scream and holler about all the stuff that we didn't do right last week. I mean, I think our players are mature enough; they know where we what we need to fix, and we've had a great week of practice this week. Good focus. I'm expecting our guys to go out tomorrow night and play really well. I mean, I really think the maturity level of our team. I think they understand what's in front of them. I think they understand that we can still have an outstanding season, that one game's not going to define us, win or lose. I think they're really hungry to get out there and have an opportunity to bounce back. It's like I told them in the locker room, I think about football, you play once a week. You just got to sit there and chew on it for a whole week before you get to go out there and have a chance to redeem yourself. You can't let one game beat you again the next week. Baseball, you play 4 days a week. If you lose on Monday, you're usually going to come out and play somebody else on Tuesday. You have a chance to flush it. Basketball, playing 3-4 nights a week, Saturdays, whatever. You have a chance to flush it. Football, you take it on the channel one Friday night, you got to just sort of live with it till the next Friday night. So hopefully our guys are geared up and they're going to be anxious to get out there and play, and we'll go out there and play our, every week you hope to play your best ball game of the year. And I fully expect our guys to
I didn't see Coach Short, actually. He was making some comments. Coach Short, he says they canceled last year because of storms. He will be there tonight in Wadley. It's a Thursday game tonight.
Okay.
And he also says that Wadley plays Lee Scott later this year.
Yeah, I saw where they played both of those schools as some of their non-region games. So that will be a fun atmosphere to go to. If people want to go to a ball game, of course, Wadley's a pretty good haul from here, but that would be a lot of fun to go to that game.
We got to have him on the show.
I know.
He said, I took one of those Coach Smith faces, put it in my yard, and it hadn't been rolled since.
That Brant Jones again. My friends like Brant Jones, who needs him?
I need Brett Tyler Smith and
him
Brant Jones
one
in
show.
the same show.
That would be epic.
Man.
Hey, Coach, we're looking forward to seeing you guys get out there, do it big, enjoy your homecoming, and good luck to you guys, and look forward to talking about the big victory next week.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Thanks, brother.
The Warriors.